Burkina Faso has just buried 100 tons of bananas in the desert. Yes, you heard that right, bananas. Not gold, not weapons, not oil. Fruit. The same bananas you might slice into your cereal or blend into a smoothie were loaded onto trucks, driven into the burning sands of the Sahel, and buried deep beneath the ground. At first glance, it sounds insane. Why would a poor country destroy food in a region where hunger is always lurking? Why bury what so many families desperately need? But behind this shocking order from President Ibrahim Traoré lies something much bigger than waste. It's called Project Green Pulse, and it may be one of the boldest agricultural experiments Africa has ever attempted. Because in the Sahel, a banana is not just food. It is a vessel of potassium, phosphorus, and carbon. Elements that can turn dead dust into living earth. It is a weapon against dependency, a symbol of defiance, and maybe even the seed of a revolution. So before you laugh, before you dismiss this as madness, stay with me. Because what looks like waste today may be remembered one day as the moment Africa rewrote the rules of survival. It all began in early 2025, in Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso. Rumors spread quickly. The government had launched something strange called Project Green Pulse. Nobody understood it at first. But soon, the sight of convoys made it clear. Trucks rolled out of marketplaces, warehouses, and cold storage, not carrying fuel or weapons, but bananas. Piles and piles of bananas, ripe, overripe, even spoiled, collected from traders, farmers, and import depots. Within just days, 100 tons of bananas were gathered. But the destination was not city markets or people's kitchens. It was the desert. Under the blazing Sahel sun, soldiers and villagers dug shallow pits in the cracked earth. Into those pits, they poured bananas by the crate. Some buried them in neat rows, others in giant clusters that looked like yellow treasure sinking into the dust. The scene was surreal. Children giggled as they carried bunches of bananas on their heads. Elderly women whispered prayers as they dropped fruit into the soil. Soldiers stood guard, not against enemies, but against doubt. Because many people didn't believe in this project at all. Farmers protested, asking, why bury food when our people are hungry? Traders shouted that it was madness. Families who struggled every day to put bread on the table looked on in confusion. To them, bananas were life. How could life be thrown away? But to the government, this was not waste, it was investment. President Ibrahim Traoré made his position clear. Burkina Faso would no longer kneel before fertilizer ships arriving from foreign ports. For decades, African nations had been chained to imports of chemical fertilizers controlled by multinational corporations. Each shipment came with conditions, debts, and dependency. But now, Traoré declared, they would use what they already had, their own organic matter, to feed the soil. The banana became more than fruit. It became a weapon of survival, a declaration of independence. At first, the reaction was chaotic. Markets were furious. Traders said their livelihoods were being stolen. But soon, something remarkable happened. Entire villages began lining up with baskets of bananas to contribute. Schoolchildren joined in. Teachers explained to them, a banana is more than food. It is food for the soil. When the earth eats, we all eat. What started as confusion quickly turned into a festival. Drums echoed as pits were filled. Songs rose in the air. Children nicknamed it, planting yellow trees. Others called it, feeding the desert. But beneath the celebration, doubts remained. Could rotting bananas really revive soil that had been dead for decades? Or was this just symbolism wrapped in desperation? To answer that, you need to look closer at what a banana actually is. Because a banana is not just sugar and softness, it is one of nature's richest packages of potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, and carbon. Exactly the nutrients the Sahel's exhausted soil lacks. For decades, the desert dust has been stripped of life by drought, overuse, and chemical dependency. But when a banana rots, it transforms. Its potassium strengthens plant roots. Its magnesium boosts photosynthesis. The peel is full of phosphorus that helps seeds germinate. And the mush of overripe bananas becomes a perfect medium for soil bacteria, restoring a balance that chemicals often destroy. Where chemical fertilizers patch the land temporarily, bananas rebuild it from within. This isn't just theory. Scientists point to real-world examples. In Brazil, farmers used banana waste to cut soil acidity and increase maize yields by 40%. In India, banana pits turned sandy ground into thriving vegetable gardens in just 2 seasons. So President Traore asked a bold question: if it worked there, why not here? Of course, the world laughed. Western headlines mocked the idea. Cartoons showed villagers worshipping bananas. In Paris, newspapers sneered with titles like "Banana Republic," literally. On TV, one anchor joked, "Maybe next they'll bury baguettes." But inside Burkina Faso, the meaning was different. Farmers who had watched their land die season after season knew chemical solutions were failing. They understood that every imported fertilizer bag was a chain, not a cure. To them, the banana was hope. And then, the first results silenced some of the critics. Within 3 weeks, test plots where bananas were buried began to change. Soil acidity dropped. Microbial activity doubled. For the first time in years, millet and sorghum sprouted from barren earth. Farmers gathered in awe, saying, "The soil feels alive again." State television broadcast these images endlessly. The message was clear: this was not madness. It was resurrection. But the story didn't end with science. Politics soon entered the picture. A leaked French diplomatic cable revealed that European fertilizer corporations were deeply alarmed by Burkina Faso's project. Why? Because if it worked, Africa's dependence on imported fertilizers, a market worth billions, could collapse. The memo warned that Project Green Pulse could destabilize trade flows and weaken European leverage in West Africa. Suddenly, bananas in the desert didn't look so innocent. Were they really just about soil? Or were they weapons in a much larger struggle over sovereignty? Opposition voices inside Burkina Faso accused the government of hiding billions behind the project. Foreign analysts speculated it might be a cover for building local biofuel reserves. Theories spread everywhere. But as rumors raged, the soil kept speaking louder than politics. Government scientists released their first official results. Fields treated with buried bananas showed a 60% fertility increase in just 6 weeks. Microbial life tripled. Green shoots covered land that had been dust for decades. Journalists who had mocked the project filmed themselves standing in fields of young crops. Villagers touched the green leaves as if they were miracles. One farmer said softly, "We buried fruit, and the earth gave us life." The economic logic also became clear. Burkina Faso spends over $100 million every year on imported fertilizers. By replacing even 30% of those imports with organic alternatives like bananas, the nation could save millions, money that could be redirected to schools, hospitals, and security. President Traore framed it as a matter of dignity: a nation that feeds its soil feeds its freedom. We will not let our survival depend on ships docking in foreign ports. This message electrified many Africans but terrified others. Fertilizer companies, Western think tanks, and even some local elites warned the project was unsustainable. They argued organic methods could never feed an entire country. They accused the government of gambling with hunger. But Burkina Faso kept pointing to the evidence, hard data from their own soil. And that evidence began inspiring others. In Mali and Niger, delegations arrived to study the project. In Senegal, radio callers debated, if Burkina Faso can feed its soil with bananas, what can we use? Ideas poured in, from cassava peels to fish waste. What began as one country's experiment started to feel like the beginning of a movement. By mid-year, the project had already restored over 200 hectares of land. Harvests were modest but undeniable. Some villages even reported surplus food for the first time in years. Schools began holding banana days, where children brought fruit from home to contribute. Soldiers, once tasked with guarding against insurgents, now protected banana burial sites as symbols of national resilience. Personal stories made the project even more powerful. A 22-year-old soldier said on the radio, "At first I thought this was pointless. I am a soldier, not a farmer. But when I saw the soil change, I realized this is also war, the war for independence. We bury fruit, but we are sowing freedom." His words spread like wildfire. And yet, one question still looms. What happens when this independence collides with the interests of global fertilizer giants? Will they tolerate an Africa no longer dependent on their products? Or will they fight back, economically, politically, even covertly? Because make no mistake, the battle is no longer just about bananas. It's about sovereignty. It's about who controls the right to feed Africa. For Burkina Faso, the meaning is clear. This project is a break in the chain. A chance to succeed, or fail, on their own terms. Not as clients of corporations, but as creators of their own destiny. And for the rest of Africa, the message is even louder. If bananas can revive the desert, then what else is possible? Could cassava peels restore riversides? Could animal manure regenerate savannas? Could local waste transform an entire continent's future? The world mocked at first. Then it doubted. Now, it is watching closely. Because if 100 tons of discarded bananas can shake the foundations of global power, then maybe the real revolution isn't in guns or gold, but in fruit buried beneath the sand. So the next time you see a banana, don't just think of it as food. Think of it as a weapon, a seed, a spark. Because in Burkina Faso, bananas are not just fruit. They are freedom. And perhaps one day, history will remember this project not as madness, but as the moment Africa planted the future with its own hands.